Hello and welcome again to BB Uncovered, an 80-year odyssey, a specially curated series on BB himself about his 80 years around the sun. My name is Tosin Adefeko, but my friends call me Tosh. You are welcome to this special edition with Dr. Yemi Ogunbiyi. Dr. Ogunbiyi is a renowned public relations and advertising guru. He's a journalist, a publisher, and an academic. He was the former managing director of Daily Times and now the chief executive officer of Thanos Communications and Books. His memoir, The Road Never Forgets, was published in 2022 when he turned 75. I'm privileged and it's my special honor to be with you today, sir. Thank you for coming to the studio.
Thank you very much. It's my honor to be here. Thank you very much.
You already know why we're here.
Yes.
And everyone that sits on the teal couch,
Yes.
the first thing I ask them about this specially curated series on Dr. Biodun Shobanjo, who for the purpose of this series we've decided to address as BB. So please feel free to call him BB
okay.
for this series.
I'll
the first question I ask is, what is your BB story? When was your first encounter with him? Take us back, down memory lane.
All right, two questions in that single. How I met him, that's a funny story. I mean, considering that Biodun and I are very close today, our meeting was not a happy one at all. I had just been appointed marketing director at the Guardian newspapers in 1985, and I've been given a brief of what my job was going to be like, and I had no idea how agencies related to newspaper houses. But I was given a brief that was slightly unfair and also betrayed an ignorance of how that relationship was supposed to function. I was told that agencies tend to owe newspaper houses money for no reason. So they will be paid money and they'll keep the money. They will not pass the money on to newspaper houses. So when I was given the job, my brief from the publisher, Mr. Alex, was, all right, Yemi, you're now marketing director of the Guardian newspapers. Make sure you get all the money we are owed by your friends. And he said to me, and I know your friends, one of them is Nia Lungi. I said, yes. He assumed that I knew Biodun Shobanjo. I said, one of them is Biodun Shobanjo. They owe us a lot of money here at the Guardian. You better make sure that as marketing director, you recover those debts. So I said, hey, so that's what they do. He said, yes, they just take money from their customers, and they don't pay us in newspaper houses. Yes. So if you look at your portfolio, you see that we're owed a lot of money. Anyway, so after I got appointed marketing director, I think it was Daily Giwa who now organized a luncheon for me and invited agency heads and friends. So we all sit there. So and I suspect, knowing the kind of Daily was quite mischievous, great guy. Daily would have said to you say I should call him BB to say to him, look, Yemi is coming. We're hosting this for him, but Yemi can have a sharp mouth. Be careful with it. So they all laughed about it.
Yeah.
So when I then met Biodun for the first time, I never met him. I'd heard about him. And then Daily said, here is Biodun Shobanjo. I said, you are the ones that owe us money.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
That would have set him off.
And that got him off. He was angry. And then so he said, my friend, who do you think you are? Anyway, at that point, Daily was laughing because Daily had, knew what was going to happen. So we left, and that's how we first met.
Yes.
And to imagine that I can say to you today that one of the closest persons to me is Biodun Shobanjo tells you how far we had come. From that moment when I first met him to the point where today you and I are talking about him. I can say to you that Biodun Shobanjo is an embodiment of the finest attributes of the human spirit. And I say those attributes, I don't say them lightly.
Yes.
Kindness, generosity, just being able to stand by you as a friend. Biodun has all those attributes, in quantum. And I don't use those words lightly. Yes. I don't say what I'm saying to you lightly. At my age, I've learned now that you can't say that about too many people. As you get older, you learn that only a few people can be called your true friends.
Yes, which brings me to my next question, because there's a sense in which when people are talking about people that they're close to.
Mm-hmm.
You're one of the closest people to
Yes.
to BB. There's a sense in which when people are talking about people they're close to, they bandy the similar kinds of words. So because this is a podcast and I want us to sort of unpeel the layers and uncover the personality so that anyone listening
Yes.
can take from the examples you give.
Let me give
so
you,
the stories
let me-
matter.
let
Tell
me-
me one or
let me
two
give you an
stories.
example.
Yes.
Because you can't speak of this in isolation. When I lost my job at the Daily Times, I was suddenly removed as managing director on New Year's Eve 1989. And it was quick, it was sudden. I thought I was in a good job there. I had a good rapport with the President Babangida, and then suddenly I was removed from that position. One of those who stood, and at that point, not many friends stood by me. It was like here was Yemi. He had just come from the university, came to work at the Guardian for 6 years, became MD of Daily Times. My goodness, this guy had, so
Risen so fast.
apparently there were a few friends who thought, it serves him right anyway. So let him go and find something else to do for himself. You would have thought it was Biodun that lost his job. He was almost in tears, and came to me and said to me, Yemi, what are you going to do? What are we going to do to get you back on your feet? And I said to him, I said, look, Abi, I'm fine. He said, no, you're not fine, Yemi. We must sit down and brainstorm on going forward for you. Only very few friends. I talked about him in my memoirs. Only few people did that to me at that time. And you know that old saying which I've used elsewhere, when you are in prosperity, you know your friends.
Yeah.
When you're in adversity, when you're in prosperity, your friends know you.
Exactly.
When you're in adversity, you know your friends. Because that's what happened to me. And I was at that point, I said to myself, so this is what happens when you're in trouble. Only very few people. He stood by me in ways that it just didn't stand by me. He said to me, if you're going to start a small agency, let me take on your staff. Let me train them for you. He did that for me. How many people would do that? He took that on. They were trained for nothing. He paid them salaries when they were working with him, and then said, all right, now they're ready to come back to work for you. That's rare to see.
Yes.
You don't see that often. And I can't even tell you, when we now started going on cruise holidays together, then I saw that aspect of Biodun. He's a very generous person. He takes other people's problems as if they are his problems. And he's a very kind-hearted man.
Yes.
He forgives. I've learned so much. I wrote a forward to his lovely biography, which was written for him.
Yes.
And I wrote that forward, and I said things I said there, not lightly again. I took my time. So when I say to you at my age that somebody is a lovely human being, I know what I'm saying. And you don't say that so often. And as I said, there are not things you can.
Yes.
As you get older, you begin to, that group of friends I have, whom I can go to today and say, look, I'm in trouble. It's been depleted by the day. I lost one of them 2 years ago. I lost one again earlier this year.
Yes.
Yemi Adefulu has gone. I lost Tunja Elijah. So that circle of friends I can go to anytime I'm in trouble. It's been depleted. That's why my wish is that Biodun will live forever, so that he'll be there, we can spend some more good times together.
That is
but he's a lovely human being,
yes.
and I'm so glad for him that at 80, he doesn't look 80. He's healthy. God has been kind to him. He has a lovely family, lovely children, a fantastic wife that makes living so worthwhile.
Yes, sir. That's a very important story, and one of the things we're trying to call out here. Can you tell us something more? Like, I know you've been through decades and decades of friendship. Something fun?
Oh no, I can tell you. Once, no, some of that is not. Once on the cruise holiday.
Yes.
It was a little joke he gave us, and we almost got choked from the food we were eating. and Mr. Elijah was on the floor. I was on the floor with laughter, and Abe had, occasionally I would throw in some. No, I can't tell some of those jokes. They are not the adult jokes, but let's move on. But he has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
That's also quite amazing for a man. The thing about him that I have also found is his commitment to projects. Yes. You remember that as Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council at IFE, I proposed him for an honorary degree. IFE is very, very discerning when it comes to giving honorary degrees. You can't get IFE. IFE turned down some requests for degrees to prominent Nigerians that we went, and IFE, the Senate of the University of IFE is very discerning.
Yes.
So when we took Biodun's name to the Senate for approval, because that process is you have to take that name to the Senate or university. The Senate has to look at the names. And then we didn't have one dissenting vote for Biodun, because some of them were taken to the Senate what he had done elsewhere, what we thought he was going to do for us at the university. And everyone agreed that he was a man deserving of an honorary degree.
Yes, sir.
And I'm glad that as Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council, I did that. Not to thank him for what he has done for me,
to honor him,
but to
I would say.
recognize him. To say, let's recognize him for what he has done for our country, for advertising, for the business community.
Before we go into the advertising conversation, sir, I'm still going to interrogate you one more time on his personality.
Yes.
So let me take you on.
Okay.
Everybody says so many nice things about BB.
Okay.
I mean, I would say nice things about him, but you should be able to tell me one or two things. What angers him, for example?
Well, that's a good point. I have, before on my way here, I was saying to myself, do I remember him having lost his cool?
Yes.
I have, but I'm looking and saying, there are no things that he's somebody who, under pressure, is very calm. I'm the opposite. I'm like a smoldering fire when I lose my cool. But he loses his cool and he's so calm. Now I find that something that I had to learn from him. He's older than me. He's like an older brother of mine, but we're very good friends. Under pressure, Biodun is very calm, and he's had some moments like that in his business encounters that I know of, where he will say to himself, well, look, life goes on. I don't remember him losing his temper in the years I've known him. And there's some things that I probably shouldn't say, but he went through his own, we all do go through that in life, some domestic challenges here and there with his first wife, but even on that during those years, he was under pressure. The one moment where we thought that incident about when some robbers came to his place.
Yes, we have heard that story.
I think that was what actually got him to recognize that there is some measure of friendship in me. When the thing happened, and that's the thing about friends, when you're in trouble, who do you call first? Once that thing happened and the police was after him, one of the first persons to be reached was me, to say, look, where is he? So we all ran up to the police station in Yaba, and there he was, behind bars, and we made sure that all of us rallied around him to get that matter resolved. But even at that time, even when he was firing those shots at those guys, he was calm. I said to him, how did you do this? He was calm. He was afraid, but you could see a man, and that's a mark of leadership. Abe has leadership qualities that are enormous and that are legendary. So I think you look, if a man has had a successful domestic setup, and he has, let's face it, has had a good business, it takes leadership to do those things.
I agree.
So when we say Biodun is a fine leader of men, we don't say so lightly. This is the evidence to show so from the work he's done when he left his former employers, set up a company from scratch, built it up to what it is today, one of the best in the country, and has done so. Yes, there were little stories about him. People said it, but people ignore the fact that Biodun is a go-getter. What it takes to get something done, he does it. So people then say, but if you sharp practices, they can say what they like, but there's no evidence that he took anybody's job from him. No, he did what he had to do. He was committed and did. And the stories, if you read his biography, those stories are there, but you read between the lines, there's nothing to show for it.
So it was generally, the title of the book, The Will to Win.
Yes,
it was generally about winning.
Oh yes,
right?
It was winning. So for him, winning was everything.
So which brings me to the conversation on his work and this whole title of him being the Tsar of marketing. What, in your own opinion, would you say are his? It's common knowledge, but just from your own lens.
No, I think it's
his contribution to the industry.
His contributions are enormous. Anybody that sets up a business.
Yes.
There are persons related in the industry that you can point to. Look, you can pick on someone like Ndoka Obagbana and say Ndoka has all his faults, but Ndoka is unique. Ndoka set up, starts from nowhere, set up a newspaper that gave us all a fight if you were in the industry. Now, Arise is doing such
The same
phenomenal
thing,
work.
replicated in
Now,
TV. Yeah.
Nduka is not an angel. He has shortcomings, but Nduka is a name. So you can take a name and say, look at the advertising industry in this country. How many Nigerians took off from where the other competitors in the industry? How many people left, paid employment with an agency, said to themselves, look, let's set up our own, and from scratch, build it to where it is today, where it has international links on that level. I don't think you're going to find that many. Maybe one or two, let's not mention any names, but it's unique. So you look back at the history of industry in this country from the Moe makers, and you go back to that period and say, all right, after the Moe makers, these were the trailblazers. What happened after them? You're not going to find that many. You're not going to find that many. Biodun would stand out completely.
I totally agree with you. Interesting. Okay, let's talk about legacy.
Yes.
What do you think his influence in terms of his person, his contributions, the fact that he did all of this within the corporate space, what do you think his ultimate legacy will be?
That's a very good question to say. And legacy is a very difficult one. I'm writing a book now on a Nigerian nationalist. And one of the things I'm looking at is also the question of legacy. Legacy will depend on what happens after he goes. But I hope that his example, the fact of his own example, would be the legacy that people are going to look back and see what Biodun Shobanjo did and see what he achieved. What happens to that achievement after he's gone is for us to worry about, those of us, those who stay after him. But he has shown that it can be done. Young people can today say to themselves, you know something, I can do it.
Yes.
If Biodun Shobanjo from nowhere at age, he was young, but how old is that?
That's something, yes.
If Biodun could do it at that time, why not? We can do it. And I'm seeing some young men today in startup outfits who are probably saying to themselves, without our knowing it, are saying to themselves, look, how many years ago Mr. Shobanjo did it? And he didn't. Look at him, he's 80 years old now. Look at it. So if he did it, we can do it. So that's why I say the issue of legacy is not something you can pinpoint completely. You can assume that his example alone. I'm writing a book on our law now.
Yes.
And I'm saying to myself, there's a final chapter of the book entitled The Example of Our Law.
Yes.
That's his biggest legacy. So, all right.
His example.
His example.
Wow.
The example
That's
of
powerful.
Biodun Shobanjo would be, for me, his finest legacy. And I have no doubt that would come to play. People are going to keep. There's a book on him. I'm hoping that there will be. And as I predicted in my foreword to that book, there will be studies that will be carried out in business schools in this country.
Yes.
On how it happened. How did it happen that this man did this? And it will be there. That book will be an important source material. But there will be other studies. I'm sure that there are doctoral thesis people are going to come and see him and say, how did you do it? Let us know. So people are going to write about him. He'll be studied. And that's the biggest legacy, beyond this example.
Amazing.
So Insight will remain. The Insight Group will remain, after Ben is gone. The Troika will remain. They will do the things they are doing now. But at the end of the day, that legacy will come from what people are going to have to know about him, write about him, study about him, for the record. So that's my feeling about that.
Fantastic. So, we could keep talking about BB, with the kind of relationship we have with him. But I feel like, we're slowly coming to the end of this conversation. But I won't let you go, sir, until, you tell me one or two things about passion and success. By any standards, you're one of the most accomplished Nigerians. I can't have you on this steel couch without getting your opinion on what are your thoughts about passion as a measure, of success? What is passion, the contribution of passion to success?
So see, you're talking of commitment.
Yes.
You're talking of the man who wakes up at 4 in the morning and says to himself, oh my goodness, I have something to do. I don't want to finish it by 10 o'clock in the morning. So he wakes up at 4 o'clock. You're talking of somebody who denies himself a lot of things for for a set goal. You're talking of somebody who is focused. You're talking of being able to say, here is a set goal, here are timelines, I must meet this between now and now. That's what it's about. So passion doesn't just come because people say, I love the job. If you love the job, will not do itself. Some measure of work, commitment has to come. So passion plus commitment is what makes that final. I think it's more of commitment. Yes. But commitment that also says to you, that lets you know, unless this is done, then we cannot get there. It's about being focused. It's about being committed. And I see that one of the lessons that young people should learn from Biodun Shobanjo is that sense of commitment. It's what adds up to passion. Commitment, yes, passion. Yeah, all right. So you go to work, but if you're not doing these things, you are not focused. You don't set your timelines and say to yourself, look, between now and now, this must be done, and it won't lead to productivity. Those things don't happen easily. They come from that deep sense of commitment and a belief in yourself that I can do it. Sacrifice. I can do it. Deny yourself a lot of things and saying, look, this is possible. That belief in oneself is supreme in this. And I think you see that in Biodun, that belief in himself. Understand also that Biodun was somebody who was willing to learn.
Yes.
He didn't come from a background of what do I say? He was somebody who learned and then was open to ideas. Allowed himself open to ideas. Wasn't arrogant about it. Said, if I didn't know it, let me learn about it. He did that. So that's modesty, that ability to say, look, humility. This humility, it made all the difference in his life, and you can see it. So you can add up all these attributes to him. What you get in the end is a man who really has done so much for himself, for the industry, for our country.
Describe him in 3 words.
In 3 words, wow. Well, you've used the word passion.
Yes.
In 3 words, I say to myself, one is his level of generosity. I can tell you some things that for the past 20 years, at Christmas time, I can't tell you what happens, what he does to someone like me. I don't deserve that. Every Christmas time, and close friends of his, that's one is generosity. The other bit about him that I find, friendship means a lot to him. Friendship, means more than family. When his mother died, when Alaja passed away, Biodun was away. But in hours, his friends rallied around him.
Yes.
Gave Mama a funeral before he arrived, because Mama had to be buried as a Muslim quickly. And I was amazed. So he had touched lives, and people were eager to pay back.
Wow.
So I talked of friendship, I talked of generosity. I'm looking for, because there are so many things in my head, but I'm looking for the one that captures him the best. I think that sense of commitment to friendship, to excellence. Yes, I want excellence comes from all of that, but you use the word excellence. But I'm thinking of the things that are personal to what I see in him. So generosity, some sense of commitment to friendship and to family life, and Biodun is a nice human being. I can't say more than that. He's a nice human being.
Thank you for speaking so openly about him. But we're going to ask you now to wish him a happy birthday. So you need to look.
I wish him.
No, this camera.
Oh, this camera. Yes. Okay.
Sir.
So, Abe, happy birthday. Many apparitions. It's my prayer that you will live to be 90, to be 100, in good health, in prosperity, and that you'll be surrounded by your great-grandchildren. And we shall all keep saying to ourselves, what a nice great-grandfather that he is. Many apparitions, my brother. And as I said to Toasty a few minutes ago, you will live forever in our hearts, in our minds. Many apparitions.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on the couch.
Yes.
We're so appreciative that you took
I hope this is useful. I hope it's useful.
Yes, it's extremely useful.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us on the Movement Studio. The conversation continues.